Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special Fight and Focus ahead of this Friday's Bound for Glory event. Impact Wrestling will bring you another installment of Bound for Glory at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, October 7th, right here on FITE. Joining me right now is the main event of Bound for Glory. I'm talking about Eddie Edwards and the world champion, Josh Alexander. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here.
Appreciate it.
It is good to have you both. I always like when we can have the two people who are going to be competing against each other, because then we, instead of just the, hey, I'm going to win, let's really kind of break this down. But what I want to start with is what we just saw on Impact TV, a bit of a beat down by Honor No More. Josh, how are you feeling going into this? You had expressed that you weren't concerned about the numbers game. And obviously, Honor No More, there are other matches going on in the evening. They have other things to be focused on. But how are you feeling after what we've just seen recently with that, kind of a multi-person beatdown? How are you feeling going into this?
I have to say it's not a concern, but, it's something that I'm used to because of, I've dealt with this with Violent by Design going into Slammiversary, Joe Doring and Cody Deaner with Eric Young. There was a numbers game there. Sure, there was more of them in Honor No More and everything like that. But, when it all breaks down to the main event at Bound for Glory, there's going to be two people in that ring. And if Honor No More really wants to get involved, they're going to, have to have luck on their side, because the ref catches anything is just going to cost Eddie his chance at that world championship. So I think the deck's stacked against Eddie just as much as it is me when you have all these numbers involved.
Eddie, let's talk about that for a second. You're a two-time Impact Wrestling champion, so this is not your first trip to the top of the mountain, but things are a little bit different for you now. You spoke recently about how you didn't really turn your back on anybody that didn't turn their back on you. Heading into this match, what does it mean to you to become champion again now, where you are in your career right now?
The fact that I'm part of Honor No More, that we're doing this together, it changes the game, changed the way I go into this match. It's about power, trying to send a message, and what better way to do that than, we have the tag team championships already. You add the world title to that mix, and everybody's going to listen to what we're saying, and our mission will be heard.
You mentioned the tag championships. Matt Taven and Mike Bennett will be defending those championships against the Motor City Machine Guns. There are a lot of every single championship is on the line at Bound for Glory this year, and which just, man, if you're wondering whether or not this is going to be a huge event, that right there should say something. Going into this, when I'd assume for you, your whole camp there of Honor No More, you mentioned the other championship already. How are they, if we can just for a second talk about that, how are they focused against the Motor City Machine Guns going into that? And are you expecting them to kind of have a split focus, to be focused on your match as well? Or are you kind of sending them out saying, hey, do your business here?
It's pretty simple. We all have Honor No More on our mind. It's about the team in general. It's not about one single person or one team. It's about all of us collectively. I think that's what makes Honor No More. That's what makes us powerful right now. We all have the same thoughts. We're going to the biggest pay-per-view of the year with the same mentality. We want to win the championships. We want to take over, and we want to be heard, and that's what we're going to do. And there's no doubt that OGK, they're going to be focused on their match, and when that's done, when they win those titles, they retain those titles. Then we focus on my match. I'm happy going out there, like Josh said. It's going to be a one-on-one when we're out there. I just know that in the end, they have my back. They will be with me, whether they're out there, they're in the back, they're always with me. And that's something I have that Josh does not have.
So I also, Josh, something else that you got to keep in mind here. When you first won your championship, the first time that you became world champion, that ended very quickly and very badly, not in a great way. Do you have eyes in the back of your head when you go into these things? Have you been kind of positioned in a way that now that's what you focus on, that you have to always have, no matter how focused you are on the one-on-one, that you have to focus that someone's going to either come in and try and take that championship from you. Someone's going to come in and interfere. Is that ever on your mind, or are you able to just block that out?
I don't think I'm ever going to be able to block it out after Bound for Glory last year.
Yeah.
I think everybody learns by making mistakes, and I made the biggest mistake possible by letting my guard down at the worst possible time. And if I didn't learn from that mistake, that would be foolish on my part. So yes, it's always going to be in the back of my mind, especially with the call your shot gauntlet. But going into that match, like I have to, first and foremost, the business at hand for Bound for Glory is one-on-one with Eddie Edwards. That has to be taken care of first. And as soon as that bell rings, the match is over, and my hands raised with that championship and retaining it, I'm going to have eyes in the back of my head, because I know whoever won that call your shot gauntlet is going to, certainly if they didn't have it as an idea, before last year, now I think everybody's going to be chomping at the bit at the opportunity to like take advantage when they can, because of, what Moose did and set precedent with.
And Moose is there again. But now you have people, who weren't there last year, like a Bobby Fish, who's kind of made it pretty clear what his intentions are. So turning that around, Eddie Edwards, obviously you're going into this with the intention of walking out champion. Is that something on your mind as well? And do you think that having Honor No More behind you puts you in a safer spot from somebody utilizing that call your shot opportunity than maybe Josh Alexander has?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a little bit more protected. I'm going to have I win that belt, and Honor No More is either out there, they rush out there, and they lift shoulders. I'm going to be with my team, with my family out there. So if anybody tries to make a move, they're going to be there with me. They're going to know ahead of time. So I'm not so worried about that. Really focus me and Josh. Well, Josh has to wonder, oh, if I win, then maybe somebody's gonna come in and cash in the call your shot. But I don't have to worry about that. For me, it's just win that belt, win that championship, and then we'll go from there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I'll be very much more prepared than Josh will be.
Eddie, you mentioned your family being there, obviously referencing Honor No More. Josh Alexander, your family, your child and your wife, they've literally been there before. Will they be there again? Is there any, or will this just be you going into this just solo?
I've described in the past my family as being the biggest motivator I have. Even when I'm in a match, with Moose or Ishii or anybody else, being able to look into that front row and see my wife and kid, and being my son's biggest hero, that's something that makes me dig deep, and it pushes me further than I can push myself. So yes, of course, my family, my wife and son will be there front row at Bound for Glory, motivating me, because I know, I can say whatever I want about Eddie Edwards, but the one thing I can, say that I think he'll agree on is he is one of the greatest wrestlers in that ring, bell to bell, in the world right now, and I'm going to need all the help I can get to retain this championship. So.
And I like hearing that. That's the part. Obviously, we're going to be able to have this conversation where the two of you are going to be butting heads. And, you obviously both are very confident in your abilities, that you're both going to win this. But hearing that, Eddie, how does that make you feel, that acknowledgement from Josh Alexander that you are? I mean, you heard the same thing from Scott D'Amore, that he's not a huge fan of Honor No More, but he can't take anything away from your ability in the ring, what you've accomplished, even most recently this year, what you've accomplished. So how does that make you feel? And do you have any, what are your feelings towards Josh Alexander for getting just this match, but him as a competitor?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Honestly, I've said in every interview I've done that I respect Josh, and I know what he's gone through. I know the battle, the way he fought and clawed to get to where he is. That's something I respect. He went about his business the right way. He went about it. He worked hard for years, 14 years or whatever, to get to Impact Wrestling, and then he fought to win that world title. I appreciate that. I respect that, because that's the way I did it. That's the way I feel. That's the way people should go about this business. So I respect that. I respect him as a champion. There's no doubt what he can do in the ring. He is the best in the world right now. But I'm confident that I'll be able to go in there and I will be able to beat him. This is about two of us going in there, seeing who's best. I'm going to have Honor No More with me. But in the end, Josh said, it's us two in the ring, face to face, toe to toe. And the best wrestler, the better wrestler that night will come away with the championship.
I wanted to go over just a couple other things, get your thoughts on the rest of the card here. But before we even talk about the card, could I get your thoughts? Josh, we'll start with you. Raven enters the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. Obviously, Raven has had a long storied career, but he was there from the TNA days, from the very beginning. in a lot of ways, Raven helped kind of set that involvement in things like a Monsters Ball match. A lot of the things that now are just we know as being a part of Impact Wrestling. Josh, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Raven being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, I think it's completely, justified, or whatever you want to say. Like, he first ballot Hall of Famer for TNA Impact Wrestling history in my mind. As a fan, watching from the very beginning, people like to talk about Christian Cage and Sting and Kurt Angle as these big names that came in here, really turned eyes to Impact and TNA in the early days. But if you watch those early Asylum years, I don't think there was a bigger, fan favorite or well-known talent than there was in Raven, coming in and working with guys like Abyss and AJ Styles and all these other guys that really, put TNA and Impact Wrestling on the map in those early days.
Eddie, what are your thoughts on Raven being inducted?
Yeah, along those lines, as Josh is saying, what the fans have seen him since the beginning of TNA and everything he went through, and the Clockwork Orange and the Monsters Ball and all those matches. For us back, we got to deal with. People have talked about in the past how smart he is as far as wrestling IQ. And he is, in fact, a genius when it comes to professional wrestling. And, everything that you watch on TV, whether it's TNA or anywhere else or Impact, he had a touch. He had a little bit of something to do with everything that you see on TV now. And that really says a lot to what he's done for the business, not just in the ring, but outside and in the back for everybody.
As I mentioned earlier, we have every single championship on the line at Bound for Glory. Some of those, one of those in particular, Impact Digital Media Champion Brian Myers has an open challenge. I guess the first question is there anyone in the Honor No More camp that might be eyeing that opportunity up? But in general, any ideas, anything you can tell anybody about who you suspect might come in there for that?
I mean, for us, for Honor No More, we're just, like I said, we're about getting that gold and holding all that gold. So why wouldn't somebody want to get that Digital Media Championship? I think there's a strong possibility that it could be somebody from Honor No More. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but I think Brian Myers should be ready for that just in case.
We also have, of course, the Knockouts Tag Team Championship, Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green versus Taya Valkyrie and Jessica with Rosemary. Do we have any predictions on that match from either of you?
I'm hopeful for Taya Valkyrie and Jessica Havoc, because I think Jessica, what she's done in the past couple months, is some of the most entertaining stuff I've seen on TV, and I want to see more of it with some success. So.
I think I have to actually agree with Josh here. Jessica, she's pretty sick, and she's been killing it lately. So I think the way to top it off is to win those tag titles.
Now I'm gonna go to Josh on this one, because the Impact Tag Team Championship, Honor No More, I mentioned earlier, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett. Well, I'm not going to go to you, Eddie, because I think we know who, but feel free to talk about it. Actually, you know what? We are going to go to you, and we discussed a little bit earlier. They're going to face the Motor City Machine Guns. So, gentlemen, your predictions for this match, but just not only who's going to win, who's going to lose, but what type of a match can fans expect?
Go ahead, Eddie. We know what you're going to say.
So, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say OGK, representing Honor No More, will be the victors. And I know for a fact this is a match that they've wanted to happen for a while. So they're going to be going into this. They're excited. They're looking forward to it. The Machine Guns, I'd say they have, the speed as far as, tag team maneuvers and stuff. But I think between Taven and Bennett, they're going to bring some power stuff and try to retain those tag titles.
Josh, what are your thoughts on that?
I think if you look at it from just a statistical standpoint, the only thing that OGK has is the numbers game and strength in their advantage. Everything else falls to the Motor City Machine Guns. The Motor City Machine Guns were the tag team that beat the greatest tag team in Impact Wrestling history on their historic tag team run. Yes, of course, I'm talking about myself in the North. They beat us and took those championships after well over a year with those tag team championships. And, I have to tip my cap to the Motor City Machine Guns. They're the most influential team of this generation. They are in their prime. I don't think they've been in better physical condition than they are right now. I think they have something to prove at Bound for Glory, to prove that they're still the greatest tag team in the world, and they're going to do that.
We also have the Impact Knockouts Championship on the line. Champion Jordan Grace versus Masha Slamovich. what are your predictions, thoughts on this match? This is I don't know the last time Jordynne Grace has been in there with somebody that can maybe go as toe to toe as a Masha Slamovich.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a hard-hitting match. There's no doubt about that. You know, the run that Masha's been on, again, along the lines of with Jessica and how sick she's being, but what better way for Masha to end this run than winning that Knockouts title? I think she's going to be able to do it. I think it's going to be a tough match. You know, they could be main event just as we could be with the way it's been built and everything that's going into it. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to be watching that because they're going to kick the hell out of each other, and that's going to be fun.
Josh, what are your thoughts?
I think from an outside perspective, speaking as a defending champion, when there is a challenger who has momentum on their side, all eyes are on that challenger right now. Like, I think everybody's behind Masha Slamovich. Everyone thinks she's going to go in there and just run through Jordynne Grace. But if you're looking at the body of work that Jordynne Grace has been able to accomplish in this past year, just put together, not only in the ring, but also, you know, just bettering herself and becoming a better professional wrestler every single time she goes out, learning stuff about herself while she defends that championship. I think that, you know, she's going to have her hands full of Bound for Glory, but I think that she has a chip on her shoulder just as well as anybody else to go out there and prove that Masha Slamovich isn't going to be the one that dethrones her. And I'm a little biased because, you know, Jordynne Grace is one of my best friends on the roster, so I'm hopeful that she can go out there and, you know, defend that championship. But I think it's going to be one of the best matches on the card. Like Eddie said, it could be main event, just like us, and you know, it's a potential show stealer, no doubt.
Of course, we also have the X Division Championship, champion Mike Bailey versus Frankie Kazarian. You talk about an Impact original there. Any predictions, any thoughts on this X Division title match?
I think Frankie's coming back to prove that he still got it, to prove that he should be and can be the X Division champion. I think this is going to be Bailey's toughest, you know, competition yet. And in the end, I do see Kaz coming out with that victory and winning that X Division title.
Josh, what do you think?
I mean, I think I'm going to have to agree with Eddie on this one. I think Frankie already proved that he has still got it, and he's still one of the best wrestlers in the world when he competed at Slammiversary and shortly thereafter at television against Chris Sabin. It was one of the best matches we've had on television all year for Impact Wrestling. Again, another guy that's been around forever, but also is in, you know, the best shape of his life with a chip on his shoulder to show that he can still go. And I think Mike Bailey should be concerned heading into Bound for Glory because, you know, Mike Bailey is one of the most explosive, you know, professional wrestlers that's come in an Impact scene in a long time. You know, he's made a name for himself in short order, but, you know, Frankie Kazarian has the experience. He's been in the ring with the best X Division talent of all time. You're talking about Low Keys and AJ Styles and so on and so forth. So anything that Mike Bailey can throw at him, I think Frankie's going to have his number. So
there's also the fact you look at like a Mike Bailey, you know, we mentioned how long Frankie Kazarian's been here. Mike Bailey had to have been, with his style and everything, he had to have come up in the business watching a Frankie Kazarian and learning from him. So it'd be really interesting to see if he has figured out ways around the offense of Frankie Kazarian or if the experience factor is going to play to Frankie Kazarian walking out champion. And of course, we also have the Impact World Championship match. I'm not going to ask you guys your opinions on who's going to win, but we are very excited for it as our guest here, Josh Alexander, will defend the Impact World Championship against Eddie Edwards. I want to thank you both for taking the time to join us here on Fight and Focus. Again, the event comes to you Friday night, October 7th, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on Fight. It is Impact Wrestling, Bound for Glory. For Josh Alexander and Eddie Edwards, I'm Josh Shernoff. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you Friday for Bound for Glory.